So we did it in the normal, jazz Latin style, and then we did it swing to highlight a few things here. So basically, this clinic is going to be about the fact that notes do not equal music. I'm on a crusade about that. On your way out, by the way, there's a couple QR codes by the front door. If you just snap a picture of that, I have a resource on my website using that link that has a bunch of reference recordings, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And it has a bunch of everything I'm talking about here, but in more detail written out, because we don't have a ton of time. So I'm going to be kind of ripping through some stuff. But I want you to just have that so you can take it with you. So basically, notes don't equal music. A lot of people look at me weird when I say that. Can anybody describe what they think that means when I say that? Like, why don't notes equal music, specifically? Does anybody know? Yeah, way in the back.
There's so much more.
Like what?
Rhythm.
Rhythm. What else? Shout it out.
Sound.
Sound, the tone. Yeah, I'm not even going to actually get into that today, because that could be somewhat instrument specific. But yeah, so sound. What else?
Mood.
What?
Mood.
The mood. What creates the mood? Think musically. Think.
Words.
Okay, so yeah, so there's lots of different things. So I'm going to break this one down into a few different categories here. Phrasing, which is, I always like to relate things to other things. So if you're thinking about phrasing in the world of music, think about it like when you're speaking. Right? If I was just to keep talking like this and not take a breath and just give you all the information, just keep going and going and going and not even stop, I'm not going to be able to give you all the information that I want. You're not going to be able to digest it unless I pause. Right? So you need that great phrasing. So I like to learn from other people. So one of the big things I'm going to be talking about today is reference recordings. And reference recordings to me basically means what is a quintessential recording in the quintessential style, genre, tempo, instrument, whatever, that I should be listening to learn this. So if I'm playing a medium swing style, right, I might not necessarily have to listen to that specific song. So I might be playing a blues, but I might want to listen to something. So just going off that as a tangent, when I talk about medium swing, a couple of my favorite recordings ever are Ella Fitzgerald singing Mac the Knife. There's a great live recording of her doing it on YouTube. You guys, all these are going to be on the QR code. You can also write it down. But Ella Fitzgerald singing Mac the Knife, and she didn't read music when she was doing it. She was just getting it from the feel. And then you could break that down into all the elements we're going to talk about. But when you really think about reference recordings, I talk about sentences just now. Think of great speakers when they talk. they're not just going to give you all the information up front, right? They're going to kind of take pauses, do this. Same thing when we're playing. So if I was to play there in St. Thomas and not take any breaks, it's going to sound pretty good. Let's do what do you call it? Sandu, right? So in E flat blues, anybody know this tune? So I'm going to play all cool notes, cool phrases, cool lines, but I'm going to disregard phrasing. And even if you're listening for notes or something, you might notice something's weird. So here it is, just no noise, right on. 1, 2, 1. Some of you might think that's cool, and you might be like, oh my god, I wish I could play like that. That's great, but I'm letting you know, you can do way more with a couple notes than you can with that. So now, how many of you here know a blues scale? Any blues scale that you can play on your instrument? Now, I'm not going to make you play. Just how many people know? Okay, good. Yeah. Now the hand's going, right? Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the spot. So now I'm going to play a chorus again, but I'm only going to use notes of the concert E flat blues scale. But I'm going to think about phrasing and how I can kind of have certain phrases that have pauses, certain phrases that are broken, certain phrases that maybe interact with the band, which is another element I'll get to. Here we go, same thing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. What about you? Right? But the first one I played, a tritone sub. Oh my god. I learned that on YouTube, a tritone sub. Right? So the first one, I may have played more advanced harmony. I may have played more notes. I may have played more these cool lines. But to me, in that specific musical context of the blues, I think the phrasing of what I did sounded much better, right? Just playing the blues scale. So when you think about phrasing, right? You want to, well, with anything, you want to actively listen always. And this is a big tip that I give when you listen to these reference recordings. If you're looking to get better at playing, right? You're not just listening to a recording just for fun. Don't just listen to the entire recording and say, is it good? Listen actively. So say, okay, this recording I'm going to listen for the phrasing. This recording I'm going to listen for the articulation. Whatever it is, listen very specifically because you don't have enough bandwidth to focus on the phrasing and the articulation and the dynamics and the rhythms and whatever, okay? A great thing I'm not going to make you guys do now, but I want you to think about this right now. It's called a shape transcription. Some of you might know what it is. Anybody ever done a shape transcription, a literal drawing when you transcribe something? You have? Good. You have? Oh, yeah. I know you have. Okay. So basically, whenever you transcribe, and how many people have ever transcribed anything jazz before? Cool. So basically, you guys have probably listened to a recording, right, and written out the notes, written out the notes of the solo or whatever it is. Shape transcription is much easier. That's why I like it. I like things to be easy. I call it efficiency. People call it laziness. I call it efficiency, okay? But if I want to get really good at someone's solo, the notes are great, right? The notes are great, but there's so much more beyond the notes. And phrasing is one of those things that's so important. So what you basically do, and I wish we had like 2 hours to do this because I hand out papers, you can all do it. But when you listen to a solo, all right, if you're looking at a piece of paper, divide it up into, figure out how many courses ahead of time. So, you can do Sonny Rollins' solo on St. Thomas is 5 courses. So you divide the paper up into 5 courses. And in real time, you literally draw on the paper what the solo looks like. No notes, no key, no anything. But basically what you want to do is this. If it gets really intense, draw up higher on the paper. Okay? If you start to go really crazy, if he's playing really high notes, go up on the paper. If it gets really soft, draw lower on the paper. If there's a lot of spaces, if there's rests, literally leave rests. If they play a lot of syncopation, just put dotted lines. What you end up with is a visual representation of the solo, so you can follow it and see, oh, it looks like the high point of the solo was the beginning of the 3rd chorus. That's interesting because he ended after 5 courses. And if you don't know the solo, he actually ends on basically the highest point of his solo is the end. A lot of people tell you have to bring it back down, but you don't have to. I mean, if Sonny Rollins did it, it's valid to me. So a shape transcription is really cool because you don't need to know notes, you don't need to know key. And you can do it in real time, so you can do like a whole bunch of solos at once. So that's a really good tip. Shape transcription. I highly recommend you guys do that to really draw out what the solo looks like. And then you can say, did I like that or not? Because remember, just because a professional did it doesn't mean you have to do it that way. It doesn't mean you have to love it. If they play a solo and you're like, man, I love the shape, but at the end, I really wish you would have brought it back down. Well, guess what? How about you now play a solo, follow that shape that you wrote, except for the end, and change it yourself. Now what you're doing is the same thing with the regular transcription. You're using what you took from them and altering it and using it into your own playing, which is how this music, works. What?
That's a good idea.
He thinks it's a good idea. Good. Okay, so for the next element now, I want to talk about dynamics. Dynamics are probably the easiest one to understand, right? Louds and softs. What's the easiest way to make your loud sound really loud? What is it? Somebody said. Yeah, make your soft sound. All of a sudden! It's going to be even more of an effect. What it does also is it draws you in. Okay? So let's play two. What tune do you guys want to hear? You'd like a chorus of it.
So what?
So what? Perfect. Here we go. What key? D minor. Great. Here we go. Dynamics, interaction. So, by the way, all this stuff that I'm showing you is all related to interaction, which is one of the elements I'm going to talk about later. There's no pre-rehearsed thing, right? I'm not going to tell them what I'm going to do. Just like when you're playing in a combo, you're improvising, you're playing with a band. You're not necessarily charting it out ahead of time like you would for a big band or even an arrangement for a combo. This is true improvisation where they're going to play off of me. Now, if we have, how many rhythm section players do we have in here? Like non-horn players, non-singers. Cool, awesome. So when you guys are accompanying a soloist, just because they play a specific way doesn't mean you have to play the exact same thing back to them. You could say, I played something really soft, and they can go, you know what, I want to take this in this other direction, and that can work too. Because remember, a solo is only a solo if you're the only person playing. If I'm playing with this rhythm section, I'm not a soloist. Think about that. I'm an ensemble leader right now. I'm leading the ensemble, but there's other people playing. I can't disregard them and treat them like an iReal Pro backing track. Okay? I can't do that. I could, but it wouldn't sound that good. So here we go, dynamics. Just walk on them. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2. Admittedly, that was a little over the top, okay? But, do you see how dynamics can have an effect? And here's the great thing, guys, when you start thinking more musical element focused, not just notes focused, what ends up happening is all the other elements start happening. Did you notice that just when I was playing loud, they weren't only reacting dynamically. What was I doing? Did you hear what Dave played at one point? I was like, da-da-da-da-da. He was like, I played a little triplet thing. So what dynamics does is it not only gets the listeners to listen to more, it gets the band to listen to more, right? Subconsciously, I know when I'm playing in a rhythm section, so I play with Dom a lot on keys, and he starts doing something rhythmically or dynamically, that draws my attention in instantly. And then, oh, okay, not saying I'm not paying attention during some of your gigs, but Sometimes, you know, there's a baseball game on I gotta watch or something, so. But honestly, the dynamics is a great way to draw everybody in and say, hey, listen in here. It really brings people in, especially when you play really soft. Now, once again, I wouldn't necessarily do that if I'm actually playing, but as an exercise, it's super fun to do. And really trying to play as musically as possible is always the goal. How many of you have ever felt or are nervous about improvisation, or you're like scared, or you're embarrassed or something? No, I'm not gonna make the people raise their hand to come up. Just kidding, yes you are. No. Okay, so why are you scared? Or why are you nervous? Or why are you, like, can somebody actually answer? Yeah.
Like playing like the wrong notes. Like
Stop right there. Stop, I'll let you finish in a second. Let's do, just F7, like a passion dance type thing, just F7. 1, 2, 1, 2, Okay, did that work? Did that sound okay?
yeah.
Why? Because of everything else. Because of this clinic, everything I'm talking about this clinic. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that, but so many people are afraid of playing the wrong note, right? Oh no, I played the wrong note. Focus on the style first. Simplify the notes. If honestly notes are the issue for you, just play only a couple notes. Somebody yell out a single note. A. A. Somebody yell another note. Something different. What? B flat. A, B flat, and one more note.
B natural.
D.
B natural.
A, B flat, and D. They were louder. A, B flat, and A. Let's do just play alone together. Yeah. 1, 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, That was A, B flat, and D, right? Simplify your solo, especially if you're playing a blues. Use the blues scale, or even use less than the blues scale. Use just the first and that flat third. Use, just a couple notes that work. So yes, you can't just play the wrong notes all the time, but I'm sure you can find one or two that work. Okay, so many people think of, you ever get a big band sheet? Some of you probably have this, where it's like, you get a sheet and it has like a suggested chord scale thing. No offense to anybody who likes this. The term chord scale makes me throw up every time I hear it. And there's two main reasons why. One, they're overcomplicating things for you guys. It's like C minor, have to play C Dorian, F7, F mixolydian, B flat, right? First of all, it's too much stuff, and they give it to like middle school kids, and they're like, well, I don't know all this stuff. And then it teaches you to play vertically, right? It teaches you to kind of play where you play one scale over each chord, disregarding what happens next and not playing linearly. You're playing vertically instead of horizontally, right? The second reason why is that the context dictates what notes you're going to play. If I'm playing a minor 2-5-1, but it's written as G7, if I play this, right? It's not going to work as well as if I did. Oh, maybe I should play the harmonic minor scale versus just the mixolydian scale. But it's still written as G7. Okay, I know that's a little beyond, but the point I'm trying to make is that just because you see a certain chord does not mean it's going to correspond to a specific scale. Okay? Bonus third reason why that's not great is not all notes work perfectly. Can you just play a beautiful B flat major 7 chord? That's in the B flat major scale. It's a fourth. Just because it's in the scale doesn't mean it's going to be great, right? Major pentatonic would work better, so you can play that. What about Lydian scale? Same chord. What about a major bebop? Right? So there's so many other options. Now, I'm not saying that because you should learn all those options at the beginning. What I'm saying is just saying play this chord, play this scale over this chord, doesn't really work well. So start with the chord tones and those individual notes. Think of the 9-note musical elements, you'll be on your way. Okay, so a lot of you have your instruments here. Eventually I want you guys to play, don't worry. How many of you want to play along? Those of you that have your instruments. Okay, that's a lot of people, good. Maybe we'll get a whole crew up here in a minute. Okay, because I'm going to keep ripping through some of these, and then I want to get up and start. I'm going to maybe give you a style to do. Articulation. Can anybody describe what articulation is? Like, what is it? What's articulation in music? How you play the note. What if I play it loud? Is that articulation?
How you tongue the note.
Ah, there we go. So it's basically how you start the note, because some people don't have a tongue thing. So let's go back to St. Thomas. Let's do the Latin thing of St. Thomas, right? Here we go. You guys just play it straight normal. 1, a 2, a 1, 2. Just like in all music, one thing is not inherently right or wrong. It's what is it? Does it fit the current musical style? So that first way I played it actually wasn't bad. It wasn't wrong, but it was incorrect for the current musical style. If Down played it more like a smooth jazz version, let's play like a smooth, same tempo if we can, like a smooth version of this. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, and. Wouldn't recommend doing that around other people, but that was right. So that articulation, that more legato articulation, fit that style more. Did the notes change? Did the harmony change? No, just the non-note musical elements. So think about that articulation. I think the reference recording that I give you guys there is Roy Hargrove's Strasbourg Saint Denis. Right? Think about that melody. If I play it. Completely loses the feeling of it. Yeah. It completely loses the groove of it. And you want to really think about, okay, how can I fit that style? And articulation is a big one. So really think about, okay, is it more legato articulation? Is it more staccato, more whatever? Okay? Before we move on, because I'm just ripping through this stuff for you guys. Do you have any questions so far on anything we talked about so far? Anything about dynamics? Anything about phrasing, articulation? Nothing at all. Yes?
How would you practice this techniques and stuff?
All these techniques?
Yeah.
So, the best way is by actively listening to reference recordings. Like if you're, for example, just playing a blues and you want to get better at dynamics or phrasing. What I would say is look to the reference recordings first. Like whatever reference recordings you have, and there's, like I said, there's some on that sheet. So if you're playing a blues, let's say, and I give you some medium swing reference recordings, listen for each of those elements specifically, and only try to make a solo that does well, that does one of those things well. Don't try to do everything at once. So like, if you're trying to match the way Ella Fitzgerald sings Mac the Knife, right? Think about, okay, what about the articulation? Do-da, 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 dee-da, right? And start to match that articulation, start to match the dynamic level, do that shape transcription, right? But the big thing is focus on one element at a time, honestly. Because a lot of people are like, I want to practice getting better. Okay. Done. That's great. That line is wonderful. Anybody know Jacob Mann and his 1-minute jazz lessons? You guys don't know? He always says that in the intro, right? That's the most common 2/5 lick. But how is that going to translate into your solo? Are you going to play that over a medium swing? Are you going to play it with what articulation, what dynamic level, right? So, there you go. Oh, geez. Giant steps. We'll save that for the end, maybe. You guys can play that. It's too tough for me. Okay. By the way, that is the record holder right there. 420 beats per minute. The duo, giant steps. Speed running record. Nailed it. Official Guinness World Record. Okay, so, but that's how we do it. I would really just take one element at a time. And here's the thing, guys. You can apply all this stuff, has nothing to do with any song you're doing. So you can take it over a jazz standard. You can take it over a video game song. You can take it over a pop tune. You can take it over whatever. If you're a singer, you can take it over any style as well. When you focus on non-note musical elements, dynamics, phrasing, articulation, those things, that will get you into the style. Remember, nobody dances to tritone subs. Nobody bops their head to an F sharp, right? Nobody bops their head to, nobody goes, yeah, G natural, yeah. What are they bopping their head to? The feel, the style, right? Think about it. Nobody goes to the club to dance to, 2-5-1. I mean, maybe, I don't know, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that these non-note musical elements will help you, especially non-rhythm section players, play with rhythm section more. If you're a rhythm section player, rhythm section soloists tend to do better with this than like horn players. Because as horn players, we're always thinking scales, we're always thinking notes, we're always thinking just play the line and then the rhythm section's down here somewhere. If you think of yourself more as a rhythm section instrument, you will fit with the band, whatever band you're playing with, so much more. It'll gel better, it's going to be more enjoyable, it's going to be more authentic. And then if you think about these non-note musical elements, that's going to tie it all in. And then, yes, then you can work on notes, you can work on scales, you can work on shapes and colors and patterns and stuff. But I always do analogies, and for the vegans or vegetarians in the house, I apologize. You have to cook the chicken before you add the sauce. Here's what I mean by that. If you think of the chicken as, like the piece of chicken as playing in the right style with the right feel, right? That core thing has to be there. That core thing has to be there. All the sauce, all the seasoning, that's like all the 2-5-1s, all the Coltrane changes. Oh man, I learned altissimo. Wow. All this, I bend a note, I got a new mouthpiece. Boston sax. I got all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Tenant fan. I got you. By the way, I have discount codes for you guys at the end, specifically for you. Let's go. Okay, but think about it like this. You can have the best sauce, the best seasonings as well. If that chicken is raw on the inside, you're gonna get salmonella. Right? You have to cook the chicken first. I'd rather serve a piece of bland, cooked properly chicken than a piece of seasoned well chicken that's raw on the inside. Okay? So think if you're playing like that. You have to get those things together. If I play all the hippest lines, but I'm rushing and I'm playing out of time. Here we go. Let's do Make it happen to you? E flat. Yeah, E. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's always 2. That's it's like a Scantron test. Like this one has to be C. Actually, you guys don't do Scantron anymore, do you? Oh, you do? Yeah. Like, oh, we did like A and B, and D. The next one has to be C. What's up? You have a question? Comment.
What is going on through your head?
I'm hungry. Well, here's the thing. So honestly, a lot of people ask that. And let me just take a step back and I'll answer in a second. That first solo, I was throwing out all these lines, right? I know you guys listened. Did you notice I was trying to play out of tune? Right? If you don't have, that's the chicken stuff. You have to play in tune. You gotta play with a good sound. You gotta play with a good feel. I didn't play anything that impressive in the second half of that tune. Not impressive in the way of flashy, in the way of, playing lots of lines, playing all this stuff. I played to the style. It was a medium swing. So I thought, oh, how would Clark Terry play this? How would Ella Fitzgerald play this? You can learn to speak another language from a book, but if you don't hear somebody speak it, you're not going to get the proper accent. You can learn notes on a page. I can tell you, use F sharp triad over this, and it's going to sound cool. But if you don't know how to actually use that in there and use these non-note musical elements that fit, you're just shoehorning a square into a round hole, like when you're kindergarten. What goes through my head when I'm playing mainly is, what is the rhythm? I'm always listening back. I'm never listening this way. I'm never saying, let me try to insert this new lick that I learned. The more you practice, the more you go through lines and licks and harmony and doing all these things, the more it will become second nature to you. Right? At some point in your life, you had to think about what leg to put in front of the other. Now, if I say get up and walk across the room, are you thinking about your legs? Probably not. You're just thinking about your end goal. Same thing for me. I trip more than I mess up chord changes, okay? And walking. So walking to me is harder than playing some jazz songs because I've just done it so much and I focus so much on it. So you want to practice so much to the point where you repetition on playing tunes and changes and memorizing things. Notice none of us are using music, right? Memorizing, so that part becomes second nature. So all I'm focused on is what's happening in the rhythm section. How can I supplement them to create a solo? And how can I play along with them to create a solo that works? And then it comes down to personal preference. Do I want to lead it and be really fiery? Do I want to just keep it back? And you kind of have to literally assess yourself as you're playing, right? I might hear Dave do something like a triplet feel going down. I'm like, ooh, that was cool. And I'll instantly go to there. I don't ever have a preconceived solo in my mind. I'm going to do this. I practice this lick, so I'm going to put in the solo tonight. That's how bad things happen. Michael Brecker used to say he had to practice something every day for 3 months before it would ever show up in his playing. And he practiced 16 hours a day. Every day for 3 months before it would ever appear in his playing because he never wanted to just say, I learned a lick this morning, I'm going to use it on the gig tonight. So he's not thinking about specifically the licks. Yeah, sure, sometimes we play them, but mainly I'm thinking of how can I fit with them non-note musically, honestly. Truly, that's what I'm focused on. That's why I love playing duo with drums, because it forces you to really be a rhythm section player, really to play along. Otherwise, it's going to sound really boring if he's just going ding, 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 and I'm just playing some random lines out front. So I'm trying to play as an ensemble. Okay? Interact. So I'm going to skip one. I have interaction. I'm going to get back to that in a second. The last one is motifs. Yes?
I have a question. The part that stuck with me the most is where you said you think more about fitting in behind you
Yes.
rather than what you're about to play.
Yes.
Is that the same approach as a rhythm section player?
I don't know. Ask him. What
Yes.
do you think? Yeah. I would assume so. Yeah, go.
So just as much as he's listening to us while he's soloing, we are listening to him. So it's really no different in that way. And we are giving each other input, and often our input will come from each other. I don't know. I can speak for myself, but I'm sure maybe band members feel similar.
I need the question again.
Oh, he was saying, is it the same for the rhythm section? Are we? He's saying he's constantly listening back to us about our input, and he wants to know, are we doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, music's dynamic, and I mean dynamic as in it's changing. So I mean, it's like driving. Y'all drive this. Some of y'all drive. Yeah, I'm getting crusty. I'm only speaking as a bass player because sometimes a lot of people get too reactive, so they listen to something and then they start doing what the person is doing. So, for example, a lot of people, like a novice, might hear Dave going super high up on his sax and going to his altissimo, and somebody might say, "Okay, well, that's time for me to," yeah, you know what I'm saying. But to be honest, you have to. It's an ebb and flow, so it's kind of like a tug of war. So if he's going super high, then I might want to stay down here and do some pedal tones, so I don't get in his way. So yeah, we're always thinking about what's happening with the soloist, but also you still have to, keep 10 toes on the ground and make sure you're doing what you're supposed to in the rhythm section.
One thing I'll say is that every single time Dave did chorus number 2, I had what felt like double the ideas to work with. He left so much space. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to my other bandmates more just because he's playing this. Just the less musical information there is per second, the easier it is for the human ear to break it down and process it. Just like you're saying, take it one step at a time. Just listen to the bass. All right, go back, just listen to the guitar. Just listen to articulations, that kind of thing. It's the same thing when we're playing together. Does that answer?
Love it. Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I'm always just trying to compose in real time. That's all improvisation is. It's composing without a pause button. Composing is improvising with a pause button. So remember, I'm not a soloist unless I'm the only person playing. I can compose by myself, I'm the only person playing. But if we're playing as a band, I have an obligation to play with them and make the best musical choices, not the best like lick that I learned from Chad Lefkowitz Brown, or the best like funky bass line that I heard, or the best like Jacob Collier microtonal thing. I'm saying this right now, what would fit this musical situation? And what I would do when you guys are practicing, if you're playing with each other, stop randomly in the middle and say, all right, what did we just play? Did that make sense? What would make sense next? That's another tip to do when you're soloing. I didn't write this down, but listen to someone solo, like play a line, and then stop the solo mid-line and say, okay, what would you do next? Right, if I played... Yeah! There you go. I like it. So, and some people might have different ideas, but that's the great thing about it. Yeah. So, okay, if you got your instruments, let's get your, stay there because I think there's a lot of you. Unless, would you rather come up or you want to stay there? Come on up, let's go. Let's go. Anybody want to play or sing or something? Do you all know a B flat blues scale? Someone? Take one of the notes.
We gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go.
We gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go. Oh, we're turning again. Come on, let's go. Gotta go. You gotta go. Yeah, oh, sorry guys. You got to go. Oh, thank you. All right.
Oh, you have to say, God, these are
And then all these NBA players, Joel Embiid's like, oh, I can't play. You're playing broken arm. Oh my God, they got to take it. All right, so we're over on time, but the last one ran over on time, so that's okay. We're just, keeping it together. So we know B flat blues scale, maybe. If not, just play the note to B flat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little call and response. Okay. What I want to talk about, so real quick, motifs. Does anyone know what a motif is? Music? Small, repeatable. Oh, did you have your hand up? I thought you had your hand up. Sorry, I saw a hand. Can't move around. Can't. Yes. Thing that repeats, beautiful. So it's usually a small idea that can be repeatable, that can be passed around, and it's also something you can call back to kind of lock you in, like, oh, there it is. Right? Melodies are usually built off motifs. Melodies are built off motifs. If you think of right, that's a motif in the melody. So you can use that when you're improvising as well. Okay, and motifs are great, I can go into them, but now we're going to talk about interaction. We got to double time it here. Interaction when soloing is basically the culmination of everything I've been talking about here. It's using all these elements now in a real setting. Interaction can take a lot of different forms. I can play a triplet thing, he can play it back. You can have rhythmic interaction, you can have harmonic interaction. Like I can play like a tritone sub type thing and the comping people can play that back. Or I can play, I don't know, a really like a half step up, like once again, Michael Brecker. There's this recording of him from 1984, I believe, at University of North Texas. He plays a rhythm changes it's in B flat, and his whole first chorus he plays a perfect solo in B. Literally, up a half, if you transcribe it, it's a beautiful solo, it's all the changes in B. So the rhythm section has to adjust. Today, we're just gonna do some call and response type interaction, which is basically try to play what each other's playing. So here's how we're gonna do this. Awesome. So I'm gonna start. Well, so you just keep it going. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna play a 2-bar phrase. Okay? I'm gonna play 2 measures, and I want everybody else, except for maybe bass and drums. Okay, who's playing? Which that's bass. Okay. You keep walking a blues. You cool with blues? B flat blues? Yeah. You left hand walk a blues or something? There, you can jump in. You guys keep going with the blues. I'm gonna play 2 measures. Everybody else, try to play the exact same thing back to me. If you're playing an instrument like that, just play rhythmically. If you're playing that, play rhythmically or something. Okay? And you guys can sing it. I want you guys to try to sing it, okay? Then, I'm gonna play 2, everybody else responds with 2. Then you're gonna play 2 measures, and then we're gonna respond. Then you're gonna play 2 measures, we respond, so on and so forth, okay? Remember, I wanna see the best use of non-note musical elements. That means you don't have to go, you can do something that fits the style. And by the way, I might change the style partway through. I'm gonna change the style part right here. Here we go. So I might go to like a bossa nova feel halfway through, or like a straight 8th in front. I'm gonna go to a straight 8th. Here we go. We'll start with the swing. So me first for 2, then you guys. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so that's just the blues, right? That was just the 12-bar blues. Some people, what's your name?
Daniel?
No, her name, sorry.
Angel.
Angel. So no, I mean, you guys all sounded great. Angel, did you guys hear what she did the first time? It was just like, I forget the exact rhythm, but you just used your C and your E flat. Or something like that. It was just like in the pocket swinging, right? You guys had so many great ideas. Here's the best thing about this, and we're really cutting it close here. Here's the best thing about this. All of them took different ideas, and all of them worked. Every idea worked, right? Even when we got bongos, even when we got all these percussion instruments, we got one-handed trombone, right? We got, round of applause for that. First, round of applause for it. I would have called out at the gig if I got a broken arm, so kudos to you. But all these different ideas work, and here's the thing: if you and here's where that line of like everything works. I can just play anything I want, which is somewhat true in jazz. A lot of people say I can just do anything. I always say you can do anything you want as long as it fits, and fits is the key word here, the parameters of the musical context. So you don't have to necessarily just like ba da. You can play double time stuff, you can play a little fast, you can play triplet stuff. But I think as long as you understand how it affects what the rhythm section is doing. If I want to play double time, how is that affecting what the rhythm section is doing? If I want to play triplets, is that really fitting this situation? And if the answer to you is yes, then do it. I'm not going to say you have to play like a certain person because we don't want copycats. But it's important to understand where this music comes from and why Ella Fitzgerald is so good, why Sonny Rollins is so good, why Charlie Parker, Charles Mingus, why are they so good? Oh, they did these things. Now I'm going to take those elements and grow from there and put my own spin on it, right? People make all these crazy flavored, like Oreos and crazy flavored ice cream, right? That's because they know the basics. They start, that's a weird urban analogy, I'm sorry. They start here, but then they're trying something different, and they're like, I know this is weird and new, but I like it, and I think it's cool because I just think it's cool, and that's super valid. Not everybody's going to like it, right? And that's kind of with jazz. That's the great thing about it is you can learn the basics, learn how to cook the chicken, right? Every piece of chicken should be cooked. The actual piece of chicken is probably the same, but you have barbecue chicken. Love barbecue chicken. You could have jerk chicken. Love jerk chicken. You could have buffalo chicken. Chicken parm. Chicken française, right? So all those, you still have to cook the chicken for all those, right? The inside of the chicken probably is going to be at the same temperature. It should be. It's the extra stuff. So like, while one person might play really relaxed, one person can use more blue scale, one person can use more notes, start higher in the range, lower in the range, more rhythmically, they're all valid. And they all have their place. And the great thing is, as long as you come at it from an authentic point of view of saying, I want to do this because I like the way it sounds, or I want to try it and see if I like it. And then if you don't do it next time. The great thing is we're not doing heart surgery. If you try something and you play a wrong note or wrong rhythm, nobody's going to die, okay? Hopefully. But we try things and we try different ideas. Let's do this. All right, let's play impressions. Do you guys know concert C major scale? That's over the A sections. Concert C major, it's the white piece. And then over the bridge, concert D flat major. So now when we do the call and response, you're going to have to change your harmony, okay? Here we go. I'll start. A little more up. Just walk D minor, then E flat minor. You got the chords? D minor for 8 bars, then another 8 bars, and then E flat minor for 8 bars. Here we go. 1, 2, I'll start. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That was a little tricky. Sorry, I threw you guys in that. Another round of applause for that. Pretty good. So, in conclusion, if nothing else, I hope this makes you, 1, listen to music a little more intently, focus on specific elements, and 2, when you go to play music, think of it as more of a collaborative thing than you playing your thing and them accompanying you, or you playing these cool things that you did and they're just going to be along for the ride. If you guys think of it more like a collaborative kind of effort, honestly, and that's, I know a lot of people say that, but really you can use specific musical elements, actual musical skills to create that collaboration. It's not just a random thought. So, thank you so much. Thank you all.